Hello, I'm Jacob Chimera, and welcome to the Anime Lookback at Winter 2017. When Handshakers was originally announced, many people scoffed at the premise. They found the idea of two people having to hold hands while they fought a bit too ridiculous to handle. I, however, decided to reserve judgment. After all, there are only so many good premises for battle anime, and most of those have been overused to death. So I actually relished the fact that someone was trying to come up with something original for once, even if that premise was a bit strange. That said, my sense of optimism died about 10 seconds into the first episode. Handshakers is an anime which centers around the concept that a select group of people have been chosen by an ethereal voice claiming to be God. These people can activate incredible powers by joining hands with someone whom they have a significant emotional bond with, hence the name, Handshakers. Once a pair of Handshakers defeats enough opponents in the pocket dimension world called the Ziggurat, they are summoned to confront God. And if this seems needlessly confusing and convoluted to you, don't worry. It is. The story itself begins when Tatsutsuki Tazuna touches hands with a comatose girl named Atugawa Koyori. His handshaker powers activate, and Koyori becomes his responsibility, because if Tazuna ever lets go of her hand, she will literally die. And when I say literally, I do mean literally. Over the course of the show, they fight and defeat various duos, who then become reoccurring characters in the show. The first thing we need to address is the first thing anyone notices when they watch this show, that being the bizarre animation. Handshakers has some of the worst visuals I have ever seen in a fully fledged anime. Most of the backgrounds and effects in the show are done with computer-generated animation of questionable quality. And what makes this worse is the fact that the characters are always hand-drawn. These two styles are constantly clashing, and both suffer as a result. The poor CG looks even worse when placed beside drawn animation, while the drawn animation looks incredibly flat in comparison to the three-dimensional backdrops. In addition, the backdrops sometimes move at a different rate than the characters move over them, which, as you can tell, does not look good. But that's still not the worst of it. The visuals of the battle scenes are horrible. The show has a tendency to do something strange with the focus. It attempts to use a form of tracking shot. The camera will follow a character as they move through their action sequence, randomly panning around at different angles while inexplicably zooming in and out. Just look at it. The movement is so uncontrolled and so unnatural that it's just plain uncomfortable to look at, and near nauseating at times. While the aspiration to try and create an anime with something other than static shots is nice in concept, Handshakers does not have the technical knowledge or ability to succeed at something so ambitious. The characters aren't done particularly well either. I feel like a broken record when I call Tazuna a generic anime protagonist, but there's no other way to describe him. He's exactly like every other shy, quiet, nervous, stupid anime protag that shows up in these types of shows way too often. Tazuna has a subplot involving a dead younger sister. He originally views Koyori as a stand-in for his sister, but over time comes to appreciate her as an individual, rather than just as a surrogate for his dead sibling. While this is an interesting concept, there isn't enough background on Tazuna's relationship with his sister, nor is there enough time devoted to showing Tazuna's struggle with the way he views Koyori to make it effective. Koyori is probably the best done character. She starts out emotionless because of her missing memories, but as those memories return, she gradually develops a wider range of emotion and expression, the progression of which is actually done fairly well. The main problem I have with Koyori is how she interacts with Tazuna. Tazuna is very focused on protecting Koyori, and while this does work with his dead sister subplot, it creates problems later on in the show. When they fight the idol, Kodama Awaza, Tazuna is badly injured. He is told that he's outmatched and instructed not to attempt fighting Awaza again. Tazuna ignores protests from Makihara, his parents, and Koyori herself so he can pull them into another fight. Tazuna and Koyori both would have been killed if Koyori's powers hadn't awakened at the exact right moment. Ignoring the massive plot convenience, Koyori never gets mad at Tazuna for what he did. actually praising him in later episodes for always defending her, even though that's clearly not what he was doing when he pulled them into a pointless fight and endangered their lives. There should have been some kind of conflict after Tazuna did something so thoughtless and stupid. None of the supporting cast are done particularly well either. They're all defined more by their gimmicks than they are by their actual character. You got the 30-some lolly, you got the punk rocker delinquent, you got the incest siblings, and you got the idol. These are all common tropes that appear way too often in anime. Handshaker's attempts to explore the duo's characters, but they're either not given enough time, or the characters simply don't have enough depth to make examining them worth it. Meanwhile, Tazuna's parents have got to be the dumbest couple I've ever seen. They let a girl live in their house, sleep in their son's room, and hold hands with him 24/7 based off of the explanation that she's a foreign exchange student, which makes absolutely no sense. I mean, don't they find anything about their son's situation a bit weird?
What could be weird? Two teenagers sharing a home? One boy, one girl? Oh no.
The character elements of the show fall down, and, unsurprisingly, so does the rest of the story. The origin of the Handshaker's powers is never fully explained, nor is the exact identity and nature of the self-proposed god character. There is a teaser about that at the end of the last episode, but that's more annoying than it is constructive. In fact, the last few episodes are especially awful. At the end of the 10th episode, there's a sudden reveal that Koyori has a twin sister, and her parents were handshakers themselves. Tazuna and Koyori then fight that sister and her partner Daiichi Nako, a man who knew Koyori's parents and was previously Makihara's partner. The problem with this is there is essentially no build-up to the reveal of these characters, and despite Koyori's sister being so integral to the show's backstory, there is not even a hint to her existence prior to her reveal. The battle itself is no different from any other, and the ending is especially lame, because rather than making Nagaka a proper villain, the show validates his actions by saying he's dying of some undefined disease and wants to save Koyori and her sister before he dies. It is extremely forced and poorly executed, which I suppose makes it fit in with the rest of the show. Handshakers is a disaster of epic proportions. Absolutely nothing about it is right. The story is a convoluted mess, the characters are bland, and the animation is all kinds of wrong. But honestly, I kinda recommend you watch it. This is something that needs to be seen to truly be understood how awful it is. It's like watching the Titanic smash into the Hindenburg. It's splendidly horrific. Now, I will say, if you're going to watch it through to the end like I did, I recommend you watch the dub rather than the sub. That way you can follow the dialogue without getting distracted by the visuals. The story still won't make a ton of sense, but at least you'll know you heard everything that doesn't make sense. So if you have a group of friends you like to watch terrible TV shows and movies with, get them together, because this right here is some prime material for mockery.